And I thought this time I'd just do some very simple masking, and I'm using some floral silhouette stamps with that, and we're going to explore some ways on how we can use them. So you can I'm quite sure whether it recorded it all because the live sign has only just now come on, so I'll just start again. So hi friends, I'm back with another little live video on one layer cards, and I thought I'll do some very simple masking today and use some silhouette stamps with it and just explore a couple of options how you can use them. Okay, so let's just start. For masking, you can either use something like small or large post-it notes, or you can use something like masking tape. Now this is a special one for card makers. It's not very tacky, but you can also use general masking tape and just take a bit of stickiness off by sort of dabbing it on a piece of fabric before you use it. So I tend to use some of my, I tend to reuse my strips of masking tape. I just pop them somewhere in a bowl, and that's what I'm planning on doing here now. An easy card for making one layer mask cards is just to sort of tape a section off, which you then use to blend some ink in. So let me just see what I got here. I should have another one that I can use. And with a sort of ink blending, you would, that should be high enough, yeah. So we would actually basically aim at colouring this little bit here. And you can see on this one, I've used that before and did some stamping into the background with something. So I'm just going to go for sort of yellow and blue, I think, and then that will give me green in as well in the mix. So I'm just working with some Isings inks here, but there are other inks you can use as well. I tend to, depending on what I do, I either tend to use some some shaving brushes, or I just use a dried baby wipe, which I'll do here because it helps me to stay more in control. So I'm not going over these sides here, because then I'd get colour on there and you'd see the strip. If that's what one wants, you can of course also make patterns with your masking tape, basically. So I'm just going to sort of do a little bit of random yellow. I don't want to go into too much with this right now, just a bit of random colouring. So I'm quite happy with that. So all I do now next is I'll bring in some of the blue, which is Medici Singing. Hi Trissy, hi, how are you? I'm just making some sort of quite an easy one. So now that ink pad is a lot wetter than the yellow was. I'm just going to dab a little bit off, because it can otherwise swamp it a bit and you get too many, as you can see here. But we're going to stamp over that, so it doesn't matter that much. So let's just bring that in. This is what happens when your ink pad is a bit too wet. So as you can see, we got a little green dot blob there. And quite often with this ink, actually, it does dry less blotchy than it looks when it's sort of just put on. So just I'm just trying to blend that blotch in a little bit more by adding more ink. I didn't want to go quite as dark, but given as to what has happened, I'll have to do it. So let's leave that with the blue, and I think I'll just add a little bit more of the yellow in there to highlight the green patches, because that looks a bit too blue for me at the moment. Now that's getting better. So just need to be careful because it will contaminate my ink pad a little bit, as you can see there, but you can always sort of brush it off a bit if you use another corner. Yeah, I'm happier with that. I'll just use another corner and add a little bit more. Let's just do that. So I've turned it mainly into green now actually, which makes it look less strong. So I got some silhouette flowers here, and it's a stamp set by Stamploration. It's called Beautiful You. So what we can do now is, and we can just stamp some of the little heads into the colour. So I always use my stamps and place them over it to see where I want to go and what I want to do. And clear stamps are actually rather good for that. That's a bit too big, this one, so I shall stick with the smaller one. So it's probably going in like this. Now what I'll have to do is I'll have to cover a bit more there. So I'm just going to use this here. And then I'll just go in with black ink and ink this up and stamp it in. I'm going slightly off the edge as well. So what quite often happens is that where the masking tape meets, that you can get like a little step there, but that's quite easily disguised later if you just do a little bit of doodling along the edge there, and then no one will be any the wiser. So I'll just do this here. So I'll just stamp like a floral border there. Let's get a bit higher with that one again. And a lower one again. And another one here, which I need to leave at about the same level. Let's just do that. And that's it. So I've got to wipe this stamp off before it gets all, before the ink sets on it. Just bear with me a moment. So as I said, this is sort of a very easy and quick way for making cards, and it's something that you can use for all types of cards really. Can be used for birthday cards or sympathy cards, get well soon cards, any cards that one sometimes forgets making basically in advance. So if I peel this back, you can see where we are with the colors. I quite like also to put my masking tape at an angle, because then I don't have to worry that I'm parallel with any of the edges of the cards, either top or bottom. So this is just like quite a narrow one. So let me just wipe the ink off there. That's it here. just wipe that off. And then we can just add a little sentiment to my card. And it's ready, and that was it basically. So let's just see, shall we just get one from the same set? Let's just see, what are they? Let's do Beauty Begins the Moment You Decide to Be Yourself, because I think that's just so true. Oh, thanks, Trissy. It's honestly, it's really easy. So what I would do here with this is, and I always move my sentiments around depending on where it is, and I usually try them out. I probably would put it somewhere here away from the border. So I think I'll just do this. Now I'm going to get my stamping tool out because I don't want to mess this up now last minute. So I'm just, so that I can just get the stamp on straight. And I mean, you can already see that blue blotch that was there, it's disappearing. So the stamping being there, it just blends it in. So when you start blending and you get a bit splotchy, don't worry too much about it, especially if you stamp over it. It quite often disappears in the mix. So let's do that. Just see how that is that straight? Yeah, always check up against the lines whether my sentiment is approximately straight on. And that's it. So, sorry, I've just been slightly playing around with it. And that's, I'm going to do it in black, but sometimes with cards like this, if you just use a couple of colors, if you then stamp your sentiment, or if you just one color, if you stamp your sentiment in the background color, that can look really nice. Just bear with me. So let's just wipe the ink off, because otherwise I'll forget it and then everything is just getting really messy. So let's just pop that to one side, get the stamp off here, and then that's actually the card done. There is no disguising needed. And one simple ready. This is taking me only how long? Probably 5 minutes. So there you go. Just a little quick card. I mean, if one wants, one can add other things. I could have added maybe a doodle border, but I actually rather like the way it's just so crisp. I think if I doodle an outline here, it would just add too much. I do like the simplicity of it as is. So that is one way of working with a border strip like that. Let me get another piece of card. Let's put this to one side. So this, my stamps flying all over the place. Gremlins moving in, I guess. Right, so I've got another white base card here. So I'm going to use different masking tape because this is still a little bit damp from what I did before. So I could have had my panel going like that, but sometimes when I work with silhouette stamps, I actually do prefer it going across horizontally. What I've done in the past, where I've had like a like a V shape in there. So let's just see. So I'm going to do it this way around this time, and I'm going a little bit lower. Let's do that. And let me just see what colours do I want to use. I'm going to do yellow again, and do you want a yellow and pink? Yeah, let's do yellow and pink. Let me just use a baby wipe again. Oh, I'm fine, thanks Trissy. Things are fine here. We're just amusing ourselves, really, going for our walks and doing gardening whilst the weather lasts, having washing hanging out and all these sort of things. So I'm just doing some inking here with yellow again. Now yellow and pink will give me orange in the center. So I'm just going to try and do this one more graded than the other one, rather than sort of mixing the colors in. So because I'm going to have orange in the middle, I'll go about 2/3 along with the yellow, and then I'll do something very similar with the pink coming in from the other end. So I'm using the wider edge of the of my mast area with the yellow, because the pink can be quite an overpowering colour and can drown the yellow out a bit. So let's just see. So we got cerise here. Again, I need to be a bit careful because that can be quite a damp one. Sort of quite very inky in a way. So I don't want to repeat this thing from earlier with the blue ink. So can you see how it's starting to get orange in the middle? Sorry, I know I'm making myself a little bit of shadow here, and you probably just see my hand more than anything else moving right now, but I'm literally just putting more ink in. Just a little bit. Coming in more from the edge. I think I'll leave it at that. Now we can, to a sponge background like that, we can add more interest by splattering a bit of water on. So you can either use sort of like a spritzing thing, or if you want slightly bigger ones, unscrew the top and just flick water out. And that gives you bigger drops. I'll just add a few more. And if you leave them on to react, so I think that's enough. So you can either leave them on and let them dry as they are, or you can go in and dab it off, and it will just give you different effects. If you go in with a piece of kitchen roll and dab it off, it will look more white, whereas if you leave it dry as is, it will give you... Oh, hi Marilyn, just seen that you've joined. Thanks. So that then you get those sort of more enhanced type of little rings and stuff, which I think I will leave on there right now. So I'm going to take this off because I want to stamp off the edge here with this. And I might just put that to one side for the moment and let it dry naturally rather than going on with the heat tool. If I'm going on with the heat tool, quite often it just sort of stretches the card a bit too much, and I don't always like that. So can you see how this is reacting? I'm just going to try and hold it a bit closer to the camera. Yeah, I think you can just see that. So I'm going to let this dry and just get another quick card out. Let me just wipe this off first. Where's my piece of kitchen roll gone? So we got this here. So I've got another card. Let's just go with a cream base card for this. Yeah, I'm going to stamp an image on first, and then we just mask the image. And I got a little chicken here prepared. And, oh, where is that gone? I'm just simply using that because I got masks prepared for that. It's just like building up different picture. So if you work with stamps and masking, the one that you want in the forefront, you have to stamp first. So let's just see. So I'm trying to roughly, hopefully, work with a sort of a slight triangular pattern here. So that's my idea. So this will go approximately here. I'm just going to stamp that. So let me just pop that in here. So yeah, before you sort of stamp with masking with stamps, maybe really think about how your layout is going to be a bit and where you want the image that is in the foreground. And that's the one to stamp first. So I've got a little mask here. Sadly, the top bit has come off, but I can avoid that hopefully with stamping. So if I put my mask on there, and I'm now going to, that's sticky, just, oh, I got it, but I might try that later if I need it. I'm not quite sure yet. So, and then I'm going to stamp this again to give me a couple of chickens. So one behind the other. So there we go. Let me mask that off as well. So let's just see if I need to get this on. Yeah, I think I'll do. I'm not quite sure how that will work. Sticky's gone a bit. Shall I? No, I'll do just two, and we could just pencil color them or something, and then just stamp a sentiment in. I'm not going for the triangular thing, but let's just take these off because those little bits they don't work that well for masking. So there you go. So you've got like two chickens here. So what are we going to do with that? I thought initially I wanted to do something like that, but I'm not going to do that. Could I do a masking strip like that? I'm not quite sure. Sometimes if you just move your hands and see. No, I got another idea. Now when you have a cream base card, that quite often if you use a colour on it, it gives a slightly muted one, sort of, so it gives it a bit more of a vintagey look. So I'm just coming in here now with the pink. Right, it's gone a bit too bright there. Let's just see what I can do with that. And I thought I'd just blend some in, but it's not working as I had intended. There you go. But I'll make something with it anyway. You can even use the baby wipe and just add bits of texture. Right. Yeah, I'm not quite sure how this is going to pan out directly now. I'm just going to add a little bit more color here. But hey, so card making quite often is more about experimenting than anything else. And so here we go. Let's leave that. I'm just going to wipe this off before I put my card there. Let's just do this. And I'm just going to add a bit more of these these texture things if I can, because that is sort of, as you probably see, sort of helps blend it in a way, and then you don't necessarily see that blotchiness. So it's a bit sort of grungy chickens in a way. Oh, but I'll leave it like that, and let's just see. So I've got some pencils here. I think the other bit is drying quite nicely. So just some metallic pencils here, which I got a while ago at Aldi. And I'm going to use some blue. So let's just go in here. And I'm not a colorist. I'm just doing what I think might work. I know chickens are not normally blue, but hey. So I'm just laying down the first color bits. Try and go quite lightly. And it's really just quick because this is going to be a sort of a grungy looking card, so let's get a darker blue. So you can always add more color later. This colouring is getting really messy. I normally take much more time over doing that sort of stuff. So let's just see where I'm going here. I'm not so sure. This is going to be a bit messy. I'm sorry. I wanted to show you a pretty card and instead my messy person has come out. It's just one of those things. I'm just going to get the light colour out again and go over it. So it's getting there, and I'm going to give it a pinky beak. So what I've done with the beak, I've just coloured one to give it a bit more dimension. I've coloured one side a little less. So, and I'm thinking the next one might have to be a little green chick. But I'll finish that later. I think I'll go back to the... Oh yeah, it is fun. It is fun, Marilyn. I think I might finish this later. I'm just going to check the other card. So here we go. That's the other one layer. So we come back to the chicks in a minute. So can you see how the colors have come out there with the little water dots? So I'm now going to see which I'm going to use this again. Nope. Is it going to be that? No, it's going to be that. Okay. So this one I'm going to sort of stamp over one side of it to just make it sort of give it extra dimension, because then that pushes the coloured band into the background. So if I do this, that's my VersaFine ink here. So let's see, so if I just pop that in here, there you go. And you can see how it is sort of like just gives the stamp itself some colour, as if I actually coloured those flower buds in. So, and this is calling in my books for quite a small sentiment, which I could just stamp along the edge there. So I'm just going to get one out from another set, which I think would go really well with this. Just going to pop the stamps away, just bear with me. Put them to one side, and I need to get my ink off as well, or get it out of the way at the moment, because I'm going to get the stamping tool out again for this. So let me just see. Oh, where is it? Here we go. And it's got a really nice sentiment in here, sort of saying sending love. So that is one that I rather like. Does it come along here? So this is, I'm fiddling around with cards quite often. No. This is exactly why I do it, because I got one idea and then when I come to try and execute it, actually something else pops along, like putting the sentiment right at the bottom here, where just looking at it, I think it balances the card out much better. So this is where it's going to go. And what it does there, it also sort of like in that position, I'm slightly off camera there, I know, I'm sorry. In this position, what it also does, it sort of helps to ground the flowers really. And they then sort of seemingly come out as if they are part of the sentiment. The sentiment and the flowers are one. Don't like it like that. Sorry, I'm just going to, because I had it a little bit far in, I do want it a little bit further out. No, I'll do that. It needs to be a little bit further out. I just had it right under the one stem of the flower. I'll show you in a minute. And it just didn't look quite right. So I had to move it again. That's it. So I'm just going to stamp that. Okay. And there you go. That's another stylish card. I'm just going to get this out of the way so you can probably see it a little better. I'll just get this out of the way. Here you go. That's it. The sentiment at the bottom here. I had it a little bit closer and a bit closer to the stem so that it was seemingly just one, but it didn't quite work. I found it looked in my books a little bit better, just moving it ever so slightly away from it. So that's another sort of one layer card that actually I think looks rather nice and was relatively easy to do. So we'll be going back to the birds now, and I'm not quite sure what I'll be doing with them. So far we got 2 cards here, nice bright colours, very similar starting point in as much that we were masking a wedge off, and it's just sort of turning it into something else. So there we go. And let's get back to the little chick which I got here. Just get back to that. So I thought green might be a rather nice colour to go with it, because the pink is rather, I had hoped it was going to be a bit more toned down, but it's rather bright, so I'm going to so it needs some brighter colours to offset it, and it's the first time that I've actually worked like this with cream card as well. I normally do masking and whatever, I tend to use white cards, but I thought it might be fun to try something else. So let's just, this is more like a limey green to start with. quite often when I do a sort of a bit when I work with pencils, I tend to a sort of turn the card around and see, sort of do it like that rather than sort of move my wrist really. I'm not quite sure sort of whether sort of how other people work, but that's just how I sort of found it easiest for myself, and also try and sometimes keep to a sort of a similar direction can be quite good for blending when you then sort of like go over it in little circles. So let's just do this rather a bit more dark, because of course you got a shadow there as well with the other chick standing in front of it, so you're not getting as much light in the middle. So let's just see. So I'm rather sort of relatively happy with that. So I'm going over this again with the lighter green to just bring the things together. So there we go. That's not too bad. So let me just do with the blue one again. Sort of, I think I want to add a bit more colour there. So if you do it lightly, you can always go back over it and add more colour. Even just by going a bit stronger with the lighter colour, you can just deepen it. So all the green chick now needs is a beak, and I'm going to go with pink again. So there we go. So that's the two chicks. Relatively happy with that. Let's get the pencils out of the way. What am I going to put on there? I want to go a bit messy there, so I think I might let's get one of Sherry's mixed media sets out here, and it's Artmarks 2. Yeah, it's still been sitting on my desk for my last Facebook live, which I did. Where is the one that I'm looking for now? Oh, it's this one here. So I'm going to do that. And let's just try something. I'm not quite sure exactly how it's going to work, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use my baby wipe, a damp baby wipe, to moisten the stamp. So it's not going to get over wet. And I'm going to try and do some bleaching with that. And pop that in here. So as a way of hopefully taking some colour off there. And let's get my piece of kitchen roll. Oh, it's coming off a bit. I don't know if you can see this on camera. Oh, no, it doesn't really pick it up. Sorry, it's the sunlight as well, and it makes it a bit shady on my desk. But you can just ever so nicely see some sort of like light wavy patterns there, where it's actually taken the ink off. So I'm just going to pop a little bit sort of here. And then I'll do another bit, but I'll put it, do it this way around, down here. Oh, that's taken it out really nicely there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and just dry it off with the kitchen roll. Let me just see if I can do something here as well. No, it's probably been a little bit too light. Yeah, I'll do that actually at the top because it still feels a little bit heavy up here, so I'm taking a little bit of ink off. If you can't see it on camera, what I will do is I will take, I've probably got to do it tomorrow because the sun is really coming in, so it's too bright and I get the sunlight on the, where I take photos. But I'll put a photo up of the finished card tomorrow. So if I just do that here. Yeah, and that's taken some more off there. So let me just see. Oh, thanks, Marilyn. Yeah, it's been really good, that sentiment with the other card. I did like the way it works, and it's just sometimes sort of when you got an idea and then when you come to put it in practice and you see it's actually probably not working quite like that, but it's being flexible enough to then change it. Okay, so I got these here. So I want to add and this has really worked, just putting those bleached lines in there, and all of a sudden the chickens are standing out a bit more. So what I need to do is I need to think of a sentiment to go in there. So just use, if you got a happy birthday or something. That might actually be rather nice there. So let's just try and put that on and see where that takes us. Oh, this is me being a little bit messy and having things now flying all over my desk. I'm sorry. Let's pop that on. and here. Ooh, that is rather nice. That's turned out really well, Trissy. Thanks for sending that. And you've made up what you were watching. Oh, that's fantastic. So that is rather good. I really like that, and I like where you got the sentiment. It's great. So I'm just going to pop the happy birthday on this. And there you go. That's another one almost ready. So let me put the thing to one side again. So I still feel it needs a little bit somewhere there, so I might actually get that baby stamp out again, or try and get another one out and bleach some more ink away, because it still feels a little bit heavy. I do like a sort of how it's turned out there, and I like it where the birds are, but it just does need a little bit more. I think I'll do some dots rather than the waves now. Let's just see that. Just a little bit to come in. Or no, I'll use the little crosses there. Here we go. Let's just do that. Let's get that baby wipe again. So I've got the little crosses. Yeah, and I've taken bits out as well, so that's rather good. So I'm just doing a few more. Yeah, it's getting there. So you can always, if something has gone too bold, you can always take something away of that boldness by just doing some, using some ink to bleach a pattern out of it. Okay, let's see if I've got something else that I might use for that. Just make it look more textured. So I'm actually rather pleased with this now. Again, quite often my projects start off with something in mind, and then I'll do something else and it just turns out differently again. So it's just about going with the flow, I guess. So I've got some sort of more like almost like solid dots here from the same set, and I'm just doing that because it's still a bit too it's not reacting. Let me just get the oh, where has my kitchen roll disappeared to now? Oh, here it is. Yeah, that's taken a bit off, and I think I might just do a little bit up here, and then it's fine. So that's it. Right. I think no, I think I might leave it like that. I don't think I put any sequins on or something. No, that's fine. It's got lots of texture in the coloured bits here now, and it actually looks, I'm rather pleased with it. Okay, so I think this finishes the Facebook Live today. So you got one messy card and two very bright and colourful ones. There you go. Well, thank you all for watching. Thank you, Trissy. Thank you, Marilyn, for tuning in. And I hope to see you again. I'll probably be back again next week, Monday. I think I might make it a Monday feature of try and go live and do a few sort of cards. And at the moment, I'm just developing a passion for one layer cards. And I think next week I might do something with sort of cards off the edge, maybe one layer, maybe 2 layers, but we'll be doing stamping off the edge and sort of looking at stamps in a completely different way. Okay, thanks Trissy for liking my cards. Thanks Marilyn, and I'll see you hopefully next week. Have a lovely week and enjoy the sunshine if you still got any in the UK. Here it's supposed to start raining tomorrow here up north. Okay, well, have a lovely time and enjoy yourselves. Bye.